When was the last time you saw a piece of paper and thought not of a utility bill, or a project report, or a balance sheet? When was the last time you saw a piece of paper and thought about a paper plane? Today, I'm here to bring a childhood back to you. Growing up, as kids, we look up to our adults and we can't wait to grow up, all the fun things that we get to do. After having grown up as adults, you know life isn't as what we were promised. Life gets hard. We feel tired managing social engagements, career management, and school. In between all of these things, we get fatigued, exhausted, and eventually burnt out. It is important for us to take breaks because words like anxiety and stress have become a part of our everyday daily vocabulary. But it's also important how we take those breaks and how we recharge. Today, I'm here to share my journey with you. Let's turn the clock back 2 years to the start of the pandemic. I was traveling to India, my hometown in Mumbai, when the lockdowns happened. My 2-week vacation was extended to a 1.5 year stay. Essentially, I had moved back home overnight without any notice. In the span of 2 weeks, life as I knew it completely had changed. I had to get adjusted overnight to working from a different country, from a different time zone, to living with family after 7 years of independence. I love my family, but living with them after 7 years of independence was a major adjustment for me. In between all of this, one evening I was on a work call and the pressure was mounting up high. I was red in the face, jaws clenched tight, and moist eyes as I stared at the screen, frustrated. Just then, my little niece walked into the room with a little desk calendar. She put this desk calendar right next to my laptop and sat next to me. She then mimicked my actions by aggressively typing on the keyboard and yelling at the calendar. In that moment, I felt a sense of elation because I realized how ridiculous I was being. It was also in that moment that I realized the power of pretend play. For what she had given me back into my life was a part of me that was long extinguished, which was the spirit of playing. Kids have a unique way of looking at the world. They're blank canvases, yet so colorful. They approach situations with a sense of curiosity, and they don't let small setbacks deter them from trying again. They're unbound by the shackles of our society and are fearless in that sense. To break free from the shackles that the society had put on me, I decided to learn from my niece. And it was the power of play that I want to share with you today. So what is play? Play is active, it's energetic. Play isn't passive, it's not supposed to be relaxing. To be playing, you have to be immersed in, you have to be consumed by it. Play can be a ritual. Actually, play is a ritual. Kids play at a certain hour every day. I would wait till the clock strikes 4 when I got to run out the door and play with my friends. But considering the fact that we were in a global pandemic, it wasn't possible to run out the door and make new friends. It was Instagram at that time that led me to believe that painting was the way forward. So I got set up with my brush, my rag, my palette, but absolutely nothing came to the canvas. Every time I sat in front of that canvas, I was filled with more dread than before. One day I was cleaning up after my niece when I found Play-Doh in a box of toys. Play-Doh, a forgotten feeling, a material I had not felt on my fingers in 10 years. After hours of begging and pleading my niece, she finally let me borrow her Play-Doh. I would spend hours with this thing. I would make idols of gods and animals, and I would put them in a box, and I would call that box a temple. I would then go around my neighborhood and ask for donations for the temple. In many ways, that was my first business model. I'd pretend to be a baker, and my Play-Doh sourdough was the best you could find in town. The first day I went back to Play-Doh, I spent 3 hours immersed in the act. That's when it happened. In that moment, in the little corner of my house, I felt the paper plane from my childhood finally flying back into my hands. So ask yourself, what did you like doing as a kid? How did you like spending your time? Was it toy trains? Was it hopscotch? Was it playing with a dollhouse or an easy bake oven? Whatever that is, bring that back into your life. After playing with Play-Doh, I realized playing was about two things: curiosity and creativity. One, you extinguished. The other is a product of your learnings. One, you must embrace, while the other you unleash. Having had this realization, I was still stuck with the question, where do I get started? How do I embrace my curiosity? How shall I unleash this creativity? So once again, I thought of looking at my niece and learning something from her. This little munchkin asked questions about everything she could see, everything she could find in her sight. That's when I realized curiosity doesn't need a structure. Curiosity is simple. To be curious is to simplify. And simplicity is genius. So ask the most basic questions to everyday things. I was even reminded of a question that I asked when I was 5. Dad, how does a boneless chicken walk? So ask questions to the basic of everyday things. Where does rain come from? What is that blob of toothpaste called on a toothbrush? And how does the world work? If you're feeling adventurous, how does your brain know when you're eating something spicy? Learn something new every day. Something that I had no clue about and was very intimidated by was storytelling. I wanted to be a good storyteller because I had seen and admired people who could tell beautiful stories and paint pictures with just their words. To do that, I immersed myself in it. I learned about how a story was written. How did a director make a film? How an actor got into character. For creativity at that point, I decided to literally follow in the footsteps of my niece. I got together a toy box and I filled it with things that I found interesting. I put in there oddly shaped stones, toy cars, my old bucket of toy cars. At this point, I even have straws that I find bendy or interesting, colorful bottle caps and eclectic labels and stickers from all over the place. For the world, this is a box of trash. But for me, it's my treasure trove. So bring together things that you like, things that you find interesting. Next, I started including my friends and family into this because what is play if not social? I had us paint on one canvas with our fingers, and that was a memory and a beautiful art piece I will always cherish. If you're anything like me, the idea of a ball charging at you is no fun. Which is fine, you don't have to chase a ball. Freeze tag is a good option for outdoor sport. If you don't like running and jumping around, that's fine as well. Go for a curiosity walk and notice the things that you have not before. As I grew up, I was primed in the transactional nature of our life, where we think time is money. In this process of growing up, we lose our curiosity, we lose touch with our creativity, and our zest to express freely slowly fades. In between all of this, we often think, what if the thing that I make, the painting that I make, or the video that I make isn't perfect? What's the point of that? I had to let go of what the final state ought to look like and really enjoy the process. I realized that was the one thing holding me back, and this play, this moment, I didn't need to bother with perfection. Remember the social commitments that I talked about earlier? Those weren't going anywhere, and neither was work. So how do we balance play and work in life? And the answer to that is simple. It's what you want to play and how much ever you want to play. Ask yourself what you can afford today. Can you afford 30 minutes? Maybe 20 minutes? 15 minutes of 16 waking hours? Play during a lunch break, or maybe after work, just before you start Netflix. Play for 10 minutes before you start watching Netflix. Untune from Instagram scrolling. As you're mindlessly scrolling, take a break, play for 15 minutes, be involved in the activity that you like. Perhaps maybe you have kids at home. Sit on the floor, borrow a crayon, and see how they are doing things. What things are they doing differently, and what you can teach them about how you used to play. Now, chances are you've outgrown what you liked doing as a kid, and your childhood passions might not fulfill you any longer. But they will take you and they will guide you to your next step. For me, the 3-hour Play-Doh experience brought me to discovering sculpting. I first started sculpting in clay, and then I moved on to more interesting materials like wood, stone, and even soft marble. I realized that sculpting was about characters, was about stories and emotions, and that brought me all the way back to storytelling. Through the whole experience of playing, I met poets, artists, musicians, and voice artists, and they invited me into their world of playing. I let my mind run wild and free, and it wanted to learn, it wanted to grow. My mind was taking me to places I didn't even know I wanted to go as a person. And all that was only possible because of my playtime. I play for 3 hours on the weekends and 30 minutes every day. And you can too. So don't wait for the weekend. Start small, but start today. What do you have around you? Do you have a straw and a piece of paper? Great, make a straw rocket, see how far that goes. Do you have a sock? Make a sock puppet. Make 2 sock puppets and make a little puppet show for yourself. In fact, find a piece of paper in your house and make a paper plane and fly that and see how far that goes. Start small, but start today. Embrace your curiosity, unleash your creativity, and let that paper plane from your childhood fly back into your hands.